The first one here is Lusion. Now this one is special because it is adding in a couple of things. Firstly, these interactive 3D objects that move about depending on where your mouse position is. The menu is a drop down here with a little bit of subtle animation as it comes together, as well as animation on the hover states. As I scroll through the page, I have these sections which feel connected, not just with the animation, but with this stroke line which feels animated as it moves onto this video. Even the button has very nice hover states, and I have this expanding out video which almost feels like a water ripple that's happening in real time as I'm getting closer to it. Very cool. The next section does something I haven't seen before. It's like a case study section, but the preview images are done in 3 layers. There's a foreground layer, a mid layer, and a background layer. And when I hover over them, they all move in this kind of a parallax fashion that makes it feel like there's depth to the images themselves. This is really unique, and it's just an example of the creativity of this site. This next part is a little bit of an experience because it's probably one of the coolest sections I've ever seen. You zoom in to what looks like this astronaut, and he ends up going through what looks like a black hole that gives me interstellar vibes. And he's transitioning to a brand new part of the website that takes you through what looks like an alternative reality. And as I keep scrolling, he breaks out of the website itself and lands right here to say hello and saying, let's work together. Now that's a powerful call to action, leading you straight to the footer. This next one's really cool because it's a can of drink called Mana, and the website has some really creative elements. The first thing I notice is the movement of this 3D can as I move my cursor around. The top menu is also quite interactive. As soon as I hover over it, it has these quick links which are also animated when I hover over them too. And the best part, when I scroll down on this page, the 3D can actually follows me along to the next section of this website. And normally I don't appreciate scroll jacking, but I like this because it feels natural and it's like a combination of 3D moving elements alongside UI cards that are displayed as I'm scrolling through the page. This next part has a lot of good things going for it. It's showing off their products with this hover state and a background image which ripples in, kind of like water or waves, which seems relevant based on the type of product they're selling. Further on, I see lots of words and animation, and none of this is just stationary. All of it is moving, sometimes a little bit skewed, and it finishes off with this nice little animation that's interactive that I can actually use my keyboard to engage with. Overall, there's quite a lot of inspiration that can be pulled just from this homepage alone, but that's not it. Even if I was to browse to other pages, I get this very nice transition as I get to those pages. I can definitely see why this website has been ranked among one of the best in 2024. This next website is called KPR. It looks like a game studio website, and they do a number of really interesting things to make this website look engaging, and definitely one of the best this year. Just like the previous examples, a lot of the elements are interactive based on my mouse position on the screen, but they have a lot of parallax going on here with large images that have foreground, background, and depth. And this is one of the things that makes their website stand out. Since they're a game studio, they have lots of concept art, and they're really making this shine in their website as you scroll through. The concept art is also done in layers, so as I move my cursor from left to right, I get to see and experience what it feels like, almost as if I'm in the world itself. It's a great example of how a website should have characteristics of the product it's trying to showcase. And I even don't mind the background sound since it does feel like it's part of the website. The next part that I liked about this site itself was the menu. It's here on the top left, and every element seems to have sound effects, including these ones as I hover over them, as well as this really cool animation where the text characters are randomizing until they fill out the word that you're hovering over. I'm gonna head to the About Us page. It's got a quick loading bar, and then it takes me through to this page. I enjoy how these images are inside of windows, which expand out to take up the full width of the page. Next, in the team section, each one of these people have their own little avatar card, which is both 3D and has a little bit of a light shine happening when you move the cursor around. KPR is one of those websites that definitely feels larger than life, and it makes me actually want to try out this game that they're probably building. This next website is a collaboration between Wix Studio and Pantone, where they've created a website for the color of the year. That color is called Mocha Mousse, and it's an organic, authentic color that's meant to be grounded. Firstly, the grid structure. Everything has a bit of a grid that fits in, but it's also dynamic as you scroll through, and every element is moving and animated and feels alive. The colors they've used here are rich and earthy, with keywords like authentic, comforting, delicious, natural, and stable. And the elements they've used are these real types of trees and chocolates and items that are related to things that feel organic and alive. And the assets on this site look amazing. I read a little bit more about this partnership between Wix Studio and Pantone, and I found out that all these assets, colors, and even some of these components have been made and crafted so people can access them, reuse them, and build their own sites by customizing them. And I can appreciate how they've showed this visually. From the design of the website in this section here with grids that has a bit of a slider that is hooked into the scroll with these visuals that are interactive so I can move them about. And this call to action to access the capsule on each one of these sections, incentivizing you to perform this call to action, which I'm going to try out right now. Here in Wix Studio, I can go to Quick Add, and there's a new section here for Pantone Capsule, and I've got all these pre-made buttons and components and sections and colors. So I'm just going to drag a couple in and see what I can create. Feel free to try it yourself and submit it inside of my community, and I'll check it out. The next top design is Mammut Expedition. This web design has a number of things happening, such as the menu here on the top, which expands out whenever I hover over it. It also allows you to change pages without the menu even disappearing, and I think this is a great way to make it feel like you're always on the site, even when the address is changing. The home page combines imagery with text in the background, and it fades out as I scroll down, and I like this effect, making the text more readable. There's a lot of imagery on this site, a little bit of video too, and I think it brings it to life. These huge images are for you to see what their product is, which is this jacket over here. And it really shines because it's meant to show you a jacket that's meant to keep you warm. This next part goes into further detail about the jacket itself. And it does so with this really cool scroll jack that zooms in while providing different bits of text. This is supplemented with additional videos and imagery of the jacket in use in cold weather. It's a good example of a website doing show, don't tell. And this allows the person viewing the website to be sold on the jacket simply through the imagery without much need for things like text or long explanations about facts and specifics. And if you look closely, the background colors along with the jacket match, and they're reused for things like the URL, which has that orange and blue hover state, very similar to the picture of the jacket itself and its own colors. By blending all of this together, I definitely think this website has a lot of cohesion, and it definitely makes me want to check out the jacket itself. Unlike the really large imagery of our past site, this one has a lot of text. It's one by Chugi Yoo, and it's a design website. It's kind of like a portfolio, and it's done really well with a very nice looking text that almost looks like calligraphy with a touch of animation and good use of color. The menu comes out really simply, and the text here uses up most of the screen with very soft background pinks to show this is a female art creator and illustrator. I think this is a great use of color to showcase a bit of your personality. Even this part here, which has rotating text around a circle, is not something I've seen before. I like how I can expand out different sections if I want to read more about her, and even though it's mostly just text, it has a lot of personality. Each section of the website feels unique. I even like this hand-drawn stroke around the word works. This next section showcases some of her illustrations, and there's very subtle animation both on the images and even on the hover states. Each one has a subtle background color and a circular kind of a break, which also looks quite personalized and something of an aesthetic that I really like for section breaks. It's essentially this half circle which you see in the background, and it definitely makes it feel like a more feminine website, and it concludes here about requesting you to contact them to start maybe a collaboration or your own story. Great work here, Chugi Yoo. This next website is completely different and almost like a commercial. It's a website that uses a lot of 3D elements to promote the company Prometheus. The website starts like this. It's already moving and it feels like I'm controlling this car, which is going into the horizon. This one scene already looks quite epic. The menu expands out to this section over here, which has a few nice hover states, but the thing that really captures my attention is just this main screen. It definitely makes me want to scroll down further to learn more about what this company does. Now this is me scrolling right now. It's actually changing the perspective of the car. Now that's really cool. And this is why it feels a little bit like a commercial. As I scroll through the page, I'm taken on a bit of a journey where I really don't have much control over the site itself, rather than viewing what looks like essentially a commercial. It goes from scene to scene, showcasing different types of things that Prometheus is trying to do in order to create energy from air. And these are all visuals that are added with a bit of text. I almost don't have enough time to read the captions or text that are happening because I am so enthralled by the imagery currently on display with these 3D elements and movement that just keeps on going and going and going. It almost changes every half a second, which does mean that my interest continues to stay on the page. I never want to actually leave it, but at the same time, I feel like I'm not particularly getting a grasp of what they're actually trying to convey in their messaging. Based on all the imagery, the 3D animation, and the way that they've done the movement and scroll jacking on this page, I can definitely see why it's one of the best this year, but it's not one that I could particularly recreate, nor does it really seem to stand out, at least for me personally, as one of the best. To get back to the fundamentals of what makes a website look good, this next one is called Synchronized Digital Studios. It's a creative website with a bit of a flair that doesn't use too much color or images, but rather good use of font and animation with different patterns. You can see here these patterns being animated, even with text being animated in the background, without too much color, but still showing and expressing the type of style that you get if you work with the studio. They've added some unique animations here. Like when I scroll, it feels like these different case studies are getting squashed almost like rubber. Their sections are done with a lot of expression, using text that kind of doesn't fit into any grid or pattern, but still has some sort of artistic flair. And this is what I always like about seeing unique websites like this. You don't always have to make a page look vibrant with 3D animation and interaction. Sometimes just good use of patterns and text can do a really good job to make you want to collaborate with a company. Though this next website by Pioneer definitely makes me think 3D helps. Here is a website about corn. Corn that's done in a lab and then sent to the field. And it starts off with this really nice 3D animation and text that introduces the corn. As you scroll through, you get to learn a little bit more about what exactly Pioneer does, such as how they try to make the best type of corn, with these sections here that you can scroll through and view in this 3D animated and interactive world. When it comes to animation and 3D assets like this, I must admit they keep me more engaged than a traditional website. I know that creating all of this can't be easy, and yet like here, where I can change the different types of condition for the corn, rather than just getting a simple image, I'm getting an animated sequence of what the corn looks like when it's going through different types of conditions. It's just another example of show, don't tell, just taken to another level rather than through images with animation and sequences like this, where I can view corn seeds and inspect them, almost like I'm the scientist and I want to know exactly what the scientific processes are to get the best yield. And I really can't get over how photogenic and beautiful this bit of corn looks like. This next web design by Noomo is one that showcases how extended reality might work in the future. And this web design is doing a number of things correct, such as the movement of the elements that follow along with the cursor, the hover effect of the button, and I really like this style of the typography, kind of blending a little bit of pixel art here. Scrolling down takes me to the main feature section with a little bit of animation. These items here for the feature section has very nice kind of hover states for mixed reality, VR, and augmented reality. And if I select any of them, I get a little bit more information with an animated sequence card that kind of slides in depending on the placement of the feature card selected. This next part has a bit of a scroll jack, which adds in animation horizontally that moves across the screen, theme. And I like how it's just supplementing the text, which is saying imagine our future with XR. This is supplemented with this next section here, creating your own world, and the use of typography with some background elements here that kind of move and zoom in is brilliantly done because it doesn't take away from the text, but it still adds some color, life, and a unique style to this website. It's kind of showing how putting on these sunglasses takes you to a mixed reality that you get to see a lot more than what is normally available. Each section, which is visually appealing, then is followed up with this bit of explanation, telling you a little bit more about virtual reality and mixed reality, which I think is brilliantly done. This keeps me engaged while also providing just the right amount of information. This website is also not afraid of adding a bit of humor too, such as showing you how mixed reality could help you try out outfits you're not particularly used to. And they even have a little sequence here on how you could use mixed reality to escape ads, or how it could just become a brand new thing as part of living every day, because who wants ads? And this swipe away on all the ads is brilliant. The only thing I would have recommended is a swipe left instead of a swipe right. And this takes me to the footer of the website. It's a brilliantly executed site with a lot of simplicity while also adding engaging elements that make it feel like it's talking directly to me. This website design is by Crescente, and they sell a product called Crocky. On first glance, their web design is very vibrant with this strong red and mainly white for the text and items. However, it makes sense because these are their brand colors, and you can see this in the text with it being red and green with these custom elements and animation, which I like. It's not too overwhelming as you scroll past the main landing section. This is also reiterated in the button design as well as in their branding of their boxes. And it all makes sense when you actually see the Crocky, which have this kind of a red look, so it kind of matches that. And the design of this product section is done really well with a brief bit of information as well as it being front and center and a button that says buy now. If I keep scrolling, I get to learn a little bit more about this pastry shop, which is Sicilian, and it gives me a brief bit of information about why their stuff is gluten-free and lactose-free. And their sections are separated really well. Even though this is red, their products are front and center and visually it looks very appealing. And I can't help but see that they're also displaying their winning tag. Finally, scrolling down a bit further, I get taken to the footer, which again is done really simply and effectively with their location and other details. I like their product pages too, with a bit of stop animation as you scroll down that takes you into the product and what it looks like if you were to unbox it. And it's creativity like this I really like to see, because it really shows that the people that made this website have definitely put a lot of love and care into it. If you want to view these yourselves, I'll add a link below which will take you to Awwwards, and if you head to the top option here, you can select Sites of the Year to get the best websites of 2024.